Since I was a kid, I was interested in visual arts, and that proceeded to my, of course, that interest proceeded to my teenage years, which got me into Faculty of Fine Arts in Cetinje. I enrolled in the Department of Graphic Design, and I think at that time, of course, I was interested in book covers and drawings more, which led me to the digital drawings, and which I think led me also to what I do today. But the moment, I think, when I really decided to become a professional visual artist or independent artist was from the year 2012 to 2013 with my two I think exhibitions. Like the first one was like with digital illustrations, and then the second one was the project Selfie Vaginas, actually. And yeah, I mean, going in this way and like discovering, I don't know, the contemporary art in this way helped me a lot to like know more what I'm gonna do, how I'm gonna do it, and I just kind of stay in it. Sorry. Well, I don't know what does it mean, but maybe I can more or less explain my perceptions of the Balkans. And that will be that we are like a microorganism, I think, very, very far away from contemporary world, kind of like. So yeah, I mean, that's not a bad thing, but it's just that we try too much to be the West, or what the West like asks from us. So we kind of maybe like get a little bit, I think, lost in this. But of course, the good thing is that then I think the Europe very much likes Balkans and likes the art that comes from there. But maybe that's the problem. Maybe I don't know, because we cannot speak about our own country or our own problems in our country. But maybe just when we get out of it, we can kind of like be more heard. I mean, we all still live with our own problems, our own fears and phobias, and I understand this, like where they come from and everything. But it's not helping much because we don't have possibilities for, I think, more professional, wider, I don't know, like things to do, or like to attempt to be that. We just kind of more try that we are. But that's also interesting. That doesn't need to be a problem, right? Well, I approach contemporary art and visual culture in general in a more like scientific field of work, actually. And I think that with the possibilities that we have, the optical achievements that we have in technology, that brings for me a wider possibility to re-examine kind of like the world we live in, and of course a modern human being in this world. So I think what I had my focus in my researches was at black hole phenomenon, which started with the project Rhodes back in 2017, and it proceeded with the moon is wet and wild, and again I kind of must say maybe like cultivated somehow with the project, my last project called Dead End. It's the unknown, I mean, and kind of like from a personal point of view, it's me trying to get to that. But also like trying to kind of like make aware of people and about the world we live in, because as much as we know, the less we know, kind of like. And for example, it was very interesting for me when when the image of the black hole came up from the scientists that were dealing with that kind of like problem, I would say more than 10 years. And then the image came up just out of nowhere, but still there is not the image of the black hole itself. It's like more like the shadow of the black hole that they catched. So for me it was very interesting, this part that kind of like they are trying to get the human eye into something unknown. I mean, we're all very interested to see, but what we see is just like a black hole. We again don't know kind of like anything about it. Did we come from the black hole? Is this whole universe coming from this point or not? Are we going there? And all these kind of questions that arises with this kind of like the image of this thing. The way that I built my work roads was that in that time I was traveling a lot. Traveling in meaning from town to town, like in Montenegro. And I kind of had this idea about memory and the memory loss, and I was thinking in this kind of way. So kind of like, yeah, you said that this black speck reminds you of the obstacle. It could be seen in that way, I would say, because if that obstacle will then be this kind of oblivion I was trying to show, which with the speed of time or like in it cannot kind of like be, how would I say, it can, with the speed of time it could be like gone kind of. But still, while I was doing this, I was thinking about this movie that I saw in that time also. It's called Langoliers. It's from the Stephen King book, I think. And in the movie they are talking about these kind of like monsters who eat the reality. So though some people travel from one country to another, but they kind of like step into this totally unknown place or world which is forgotten. And they are waiting for this kind of monster to come and eat this place because it's not fused. So this was very much like, it kind of like inspired me to think more about this memory thing, because it reminded me like about this collective memories and how they, when they are too much or too long, kind of like in our conscience, and they are not useful, they can like maybe go just in oblivion. So this was kind of like the things that I was thinking more, like when something is not diffused, then with the speed of time it just disappears. The exhibition looks just like that. I mean, the installation looks just like that. You have two images upside down with the two kind of like parts, and then there's one in the middle, and you can kind of like pass through that one. So it looks like a port or something. And of course I put the rock, like you already asked me, like from this kind of like our reality, because this was the one object that I saw a lot while I was traveling, as I said. So I wanted like to bring it also there and put it in this like a circle, a black circle, to be like a part of these kind of realities who are, or memories who are like going into oblivion. Water is life, I think, among other things, of course. But while I was working, actually, this exhibition started with an artist from St. Petersburg. She was the curator. Her name is Lyudmila Belova. And she had this private gallery in the south, in this part which is called Luštice, in Montenegro. And she had the idea of calling the whole exhibition with several artists, water. So I was thinking in which way should I approach this theme, and I started thinking about water in a healing matter. So yeah, I was doing a lot of research about this, because in Balkans there are some, for example, which was very interesting for me, in Balkans there is this kind of like magical way of making waters to heal oneself. So there are some kind of like specific women who do this like kind of like esoteric way of making water with coil or some kind of other objects, I don't know. And they kind of like give it to the people who is ill. That could be illness from, I don't know, something physical to something psychological. So I was playing with this idea and by making my own like recipes, with magical recipes, and like kind of like every bottle has its own meaning and its own like why should it, like, what should it heal? So it was a lot of kind of stuff, from like curing from the main community until the, I don't know, curing bad behavior, or I don't know, romantic heartbreak, and so on and so on. And of course, among with the bottles was also this kind of like a chair and a table, where I installed it also with some kind of, I don't know, tarot cards and other stuff that are like known like in this esoteric area. Well, I mean, while I was doing it, I wanted like to get kind of like more free of my body. So, but in that I put it in a digital form, to have more of this contemporary transcendental image of my body. And this was the idea to do it. And of course, kind of like to explore maybe my body or myself in this kind of way, because I mean I think the title of the work says it all, kind of like that I was trying kind of to expose my intimate parts of through the digital media. And I think this is the way that maybe women today kind of like, I don't know, celebrate themselves or their wholeness or their feminine side through the digital way of showing themselves. So this was kind of like more or less what I was trying to do. It can be seen in that way, yeah. I mean, showing oneself in this like maybe a bit of fragile, I don't know, way, and very open, it could be for the Balkans. Yeah. But I have some drawings, of course, through my body, which kind of show this kind of like obstacle or like a problem that is going on with this kind of trying to liberate yourself. So this is kind of like the obstacle, that it doesn't give you that. I mean, when a woman chooses by herself to use it, then there's no, I don't think there is no need for boundaries. So this is kind of like my message. Yes, the approach that I did until now with my works has a lot to do with the way that I find ways kind of like to show this, the unknown or the unapproachable, I would say, through this kind of like what is known as mystical or intrigued kind of ways. But of course that could be seen in much more deeper sense, and it depends, of course, from the mental perception that you have on that, or like even like literally visual perception that you have, that what is mystical and what is really intrigue for a person, right? But I was trying to do in this work, I was trying again to play with this black hole phenomena again, in this kind of more traditional way. It was very interesting for me to try and physically like engage kind of like in this work by painting. And the title is "The Moon is Wet and Wild," so I'm kind of like, the moon in this moment is this black hole, and it's changeable because, as we know in biological thing, the moon is something that always changes, and kind of like their reflection on water is kind of like more transformative. And it also kind of to do with, because we know that in a way like the moon is changeable. As for the woman's cycle, it changes like once a month, and then you have all these kind of emotions. But I was trying here to show more like these heavy emotions that have. So the moon is kind of like black and changeable and transformative and hard, kind of like, and shows more this, what do I say, again, this kind of oblivion that emotions sometimes can have on you. Yeah. I don't know. My relationship with space and time. I didn't think much about this, you know. I'm approaching that more. I'm approaching in this way of thinking still. Space and time are related to this our physical world, but like in the whole universe, we really don't. We have scientific, of course, proofs that what they are, but we still live in this kind of mystery of what they really are. So, of course, as a human being, I think it's a forever question. We will see until when, but still, it's like a question of how we approach to that, and what is that time for us, and what is that time in kind of like in constellation with we here and the universe there. Are we the universe after all? And how do we know that, and how do we feel that in this physical world? Well, at this moment, as I told you, I enrolled in my master classes, so I am trying to go on with my research on these black hole phenomena. And for now in particular, I mean, because of the COVID situations, a lot of stuff stopped. But I think school is what's in my mind right now more. And yeah, and very open for everything else.